Okay, let's talk about the future a little bit more, and I'll do some introductions with the folks we're going to talk about that with. Welcome back to the show, all of you. Start with Cliff Holcamp from Washington University. He gave us some great perspective on this very topic last time. Thanks for coming back. Nate Johnson, Real Estate Solutions is your company. You're a little bit of an entrepreneur yourself, and we're looking forward to hearing from you as well. And Amir Kotorovic. I'm sorry, I do it every time. I see you in the hall, and I can say Amir Kotorovic just fine, but when I read it, it messes up. I apologize. A journalist who's covered this very topic for some time right here in St. Louis. Real quickly on the last 6 months question, you know, the last time we were here, people talked about how vibrant the previous 6 months has been. This last 6 months.
It's amazing. There's the volume of activity just keeps increasing. The new initiatives, Global Hack hadn't been announced. I don't even know if it was an idea 6 months ago. Launch Code has been launched in the last 6 months. 630, which is a financial services technology accelerator, is just launched. It's a accelerator program for tech companies that cater to the financial services industry. It was launched by Cultivation Capital and the RCGA. Jim McKelvey is the director, and they actually just recruited 4 companies to participate, 2 from New York, 1 from the UK, and 1 from Silicon Valley, who are all actually coming to St. Louis because of what we have to offer here in entrepreneurship, and particularly in the financial services industry. So all of these initiatives didn't exist 6 months ago.
Yeah, and I think that it's a great awareness that's occurring in the overall market in St. Louis, where people are understanding that, hey, this is a great place to start a business. This is a great place for entrepreneurship.
People outside of those who are doing the business? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, outside of that, because I think that, you know, folks that are kind of in that entrepreneur bubble, they know each other, they know what's going on, they know all the vibrancy that's taking place. I think it's those that are outside of that bubble that are really getting touched over these last 6 months, where it's like, hey, this is what's going on in my town, this is what's going on in St. Louis. People from the outside looking in at St. Louis are starting to see St. Louis more as a place where, hey, you know what, that's some place where I could consider going.
Amir, there's some talk on Twitter a little bit about there's a little fiber underneath our downtown, and there's some talk, I know a man by the name of David Sandell who's talking about the potential there. Are people starting to see this idea of a gigabit city? Is that something that's on the future? This is a conversation about the future. Are we hearing any of that talk about making us competitive when it comes to those kind of speeds?
The infrastructure that's in place in downtown is played a big part in some of the early innovation that has happened, as far as some of the data centers moving downtown, a lot of the early technology infrastructure. When we're talking about infrastructure, also a lot of the kind of available office space downtown. That has been a huge boost for T-Rex, for something like T-Rex, where they can have really affordable, flexible space for to host all of these companies in one space, create that vibrancy, and just that that whole infrastructure. That, I mean, you have to remember that downtown St. Louis was built 200 years ago. It's been being built since then, and 100 years ago it had a lot more people, a lot more industry there. There's a lot of space to grow there, and a lot of space to grow for startups.
So where is our near future? Can you talk about our near future? Where do the three of you see that?
Well, for me, I see a lot of people that are coming to St. Louis. As a real estate broker, I'm often dealing with folks that are coming into our market from other places, and also people who are making decisions about what they want to do next, where their next step is. And it's great to see people saying, I'm going to stay in St. Louis. I'm going to stay here. I see opportunity here. It's great to see people who are coming here from other places. I believe that the woman that you were interviewing on the monitor a while ago was talking about that, where she was acting sort of as that HR department for these smaller companies. I act in the same way with my company, with people coming in because they're not always huge companies. They're coming in and they're working for a smaller operation, and they see St. Louis as a place to grow. It's great.
I think the future, what has happened over the last couple of years has been really great, but I think it's just the beginning, because what has happened really is we have an infrastructure in place now. So there are places for people to go, for money, for talent, for mentoring. And that just basically opens up the doors for everybody else who's been sitting on the sidelines. So a lot of people who may have had ideas and just didn't know what to do or where to go. I mean, I spoke with Gabe Lozano the first time a couple years ago, and he told me that 2008, 2009 in St. Louis, he thought he was the only person that was doing anything like that. Just he was lonely, I mean, not like that, but he was lonely. You know, he didn't.
No, he's lonely.
He didn't know anybody else. Yeah,
it's bad. It's not good.
So, you know, right now it's completely different. I mean, I was just at the Startup Connection. You know, it was a lot of people. It was packed. Probably close to 1,000 people there. You know, everybody networking, meeting other people. And it makes it a lot easier for somebody else to come in because all of that infrastructure is in place already, and you know, you don't have to start from the beginning being lonely like Gabe Lozano.
Yeah, I don't know if that's fixable. We touched on immigration just a little bit earlier. How should we be talking more about that in this conversation?
I think immigration is definitely important. When you just look at the statistics of, you know, companies started in Silicon Valley, high-tech companies, you know, you look at Google, IBM, some of the most successful companies of the last 30, 40 years have all either had a co-founder or a founder that was an immigrant. So, you know, it's certainly something important to look at. I mean, the Mosaic project is very important in St. Louis, and Betsy's doing a great job at trying to do that. It's definitely a challenge. I mean, how do you all of a sudden just attract immigrants to St. Louis? So, you know, that's a challenge that will be very important for the future of the city.
And another show entirely. Over at the Olin Cup, what are you looking for when you judge the Olin Cup, when you're looking at some ideas, kind of like what we saw earlier with the pitches?
Well, at Olin Cup, we're looking for the best and most promising companies that are coming out of the university. Which actually relates very much to that point about immigrants. That is an important opportunity and something that we can do better on. But one thing that we've already been doing better on is retaining our own residents. And that's something that wasn't talked a lot about, is how many native St. Louisans would move away for opportunities in bigger cities. And I am really seeing that start to change. I'm seeing people that grew up here want to come back. I'm seeing university students at WashU actually want to stay. This past year was the first year that my top entrepreneurship students actually were talking about staying in St. Louis. They were excited what was happening in St. Louis, and they literally put St. Louis at the same level as Silicon Valley or New York or Chicago when they're talking about their places that they'd like to go to get into entrepreneurship. That didn't happen only 2 years ago. So I think we should be working on all fronts, so certainly recruiting new people to the city, but also remembering to retain the people who are already here, the kids that grow up here and the students who come here to study. And that's been a noticeable difference in the last year.